The house stood alone. It was a silhouette against the grey sky. The old mansion was a forgotten place. It was known only to locals. They whispered tales about it, stories of tragedy, stories of terror. Some said it was cursed, others said it was haunted. All agreed it was a place to avoid. The house had a history. It was once a grand estate. A wealthy family had lived there, but their fortune had turned. Tragedy struck, the family vanished. No explanation was ever found. The house stood empty. It began to decay. Time and weather wore it down. It became a shell of its former glory. Locals told stories about the house. They said it was haunted by the family who disappeared. They claimed to hear screams at night. They saw lights flickering in the windows. No one dared to go near the house. It stood as a monument to its dark past. The old house was a scar on the landscape. It was a constant reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden in the world. It was a place of fear, a place of whispers, a place where the living dared not tread.
The group of friends were young and reckless. They were drawn to the unknown. They saw the old house as a challenge, a dare. They decided to spend the night there, to see for themselves if the stories were true.
The friends were Jake, Mark, Ben, and Chris. Jake was the leader. He was the one who suggested the dare. Mark was the skeptic. He didn't believe in ghosts.
Ben was the quiet one. He was afraid but didn't want to admit it. Chris was the joker. He tried to lighten the mood.
They arrived at the house as the sun was setting. The sky was a fiery red. It cast an eerie glow on the house. The friends parked their car down the road. They didn't want to be seen. They walked the rest of the way. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. They stood at the edge of the property. The house loomed over them. It was even more imposing up close. The windows were dark eyes. They seemed to watch the friends. The front door hung open. It was an invitation or a warning.
The friends stepped inside the house. The air grew cold. The smell of decay hit them. Dust and cobwebs covered everything. The house was silent. The friends could hear their own hearts beating. "Hello?" Jake called out. His voice echoed through the empty halls. There was no answer, only silence.
The friends moved further into the house. They explored each room. They found nothing but dust and decay.
They reached the main living room. The fireplace was cold and empty. A single chair sat in the middle of the room. It faced the fireplace, as if someone had been sitting there recently. The friends felt uneasy, like they were being watched.
Suddenly, they heard a noise. It was a soft sound, like someone was whispering. The friends froze. They listened intently. The whispering continued. It seemed to be coming from the walls.
The Book of Shadows.
The friends followed the sound of the whispering. It led them to a small room off the main hallway. The door was slightly ajar. They pushed it open. The room was dark and dusty. A single window cast a dim light on the floor. In the center of the room was a desk. A thick leather-bound book lay open on it. The friends approached cautiously. They could feel their hearts pounding in their chests.
"Look at this."
Jake reached out and picked up the book. The cover was cold to the touch. He blew off the dust. The title was in an ancient language. He couldn't read it. He opened the book. The pages were filled with handwritten entries. The writing was faded and difficult to make out.
What does it say?
It looks like some kind of journal, but I can't make out most of the words.
He flipped through the pages. They were filled with strange symbols and diagrams. Some of the entries were accompanied by disturbing drawings.
Trapped.
The friends continued to read the journal. They pieced together the story. It was the diary of the family who had once lived in the house. The entries described a series of strange and disturbing events. The family believed they were being haunted. They wrote of an evil presence in the house. As they read, the friends began to feel uneasy. The air grew heavy. The temperature dropped. They could hear noises outside the room. Footsteps, whispers. The friends realized they were not alone in the house.
Do you hear that?
Panic set in. They tried to leave the room, but the door wouldn't open. It was as if something was holding it shut. They rattled the doorknob. They kicked at the door. Nothing. They were trapped. The noises outside the room grew louder. The friends could hear heavy breathing, scratching at the walls. Something was coming for them.
We need to get out of here now.
I'm going to open it. The friends huddled together in the center of the room. They were terrified. They had no way to escape. The noises outside the room reached a fever pitch. The door rattled violently. Then, as quickly as it had started, it stopped. Silence descended upon the house. The friends waited. Their hearts pounded in their chests. They held their breath. After what felt like an eternity, they cautiously approached the door.
We made it. We actually made it. Jake slowly turned the doorknob. The door creaked open. The hallway outside was empty. The friends wasted no time. They ran out of the room. They fled from the house. They didn't stop running until they reached their car.
They never spoke of what they had experienced that night, but they could never forget it. The house had changed them. They had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had looked back into them. The old house still stood on the hill, a silent sentinel, a reminder of the darkness that lurked in the world, and the friends never went near it again. They knew that some secrets are best left buried, some doors are best left unopened.